It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State. Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe.
Phoenix has the ball, and a pinnacle ball throws it down.
DeBrincat gets it back to Goss. Barron across now. Kane. Save River. They score! Raymond!
Bob got to the throw, and it's caught by St. Brown for a first down.
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. You know, I got to say, this is unrelated to what we're going to talk about in the show because it's way too early to be talking NHL, at least unless serious stuff happens. I'm not really going to talk Red Wings. I got the Red Wings game on the brand new FanDuel Sports Network, everybody's favorite sports network. People just keep telling me, oh my gosh, I love watching my teams on the FanDuel Sports. Anyway, they were doing this little thing on Andrew Kopp, and I want to be sick to my stomach. He's got 3 goals in 5 games, and they were acting like this guy's, Pavel Datsyuk. I got to be honest. I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted by you. How could FanDuel Sports Network do this to us? They're supposed to be right down the middle, right down the line. They're not supposed to they're not supposed to do any of that nonsense. Come on. You're better than that FanDuel Sportsbook or FanDuel Sports Network. I already did it. I already accidentally called it. It really is, I thought it was weird when ESPN came out with their own sportsbook, but now it's like the sportsbooks just run the show. They literally run the show. It is the broadcasting network for many North American teams. I guess no Canadian teams are FanDuel Sports. I guess that's the one. Oh my gosh, they got little microphones and everything. I'm not too young to remember Pavel. I'm 25. I love Pavel Datsyuk. Pavel Datsyuk was great. Pavel Datsyuk, Henrik Zetterberg. Yeah, Chris Osgood on that team. You can't see it. This is before my time. I got the 97 Stanley Cup team frame team photo in front of me, Mr. Mark. But No, not too young to remember Pavel Datsyuk. You may just be very old. That might be the distinction here. Or maybe I'm really old. That like people have to think back about Pavel Datsyuk. But anyway, welcome to BS Sports. Let's get the show started here. We got a great show. I got a lot to talk about. All right. We got NFL, obviously. We got some MLB playoffs. We got college football. Michigan State won a football game, so we got to talk about that. Got a little NBA season preview. NBA season begins tonight. Technically, the superstar that is to be, I should say, Bronny James is going to be playing, and I think everybody's just going to be on there, face to face with their television sets tonight. They're going to be right on top of it because they really want to see Bronny James go 1 for 85. You are definitely this guy. I mean, you know what? Respect, Mark. I'm glad you're here. Anybody is welcome. There's no age limit unless you're like not an adult. Then maybe, I don't know. This is a family friendly show, generally speaking. But if you're like 5, I would be like, if I was 5 watching this show, I would be bored out of my mind. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, let's just jump in though. Headline of the day, or headline of the show, I should say. The Lions win over Minnesota. They are now in sole possession of first place in not just the NFC North, but the NFC, period. I got a lot to break down about this game. First of all, let's talk Jared Goff. Jared Goff right now is playing at an absolutely unreal level. This game alone, he went 22 for 25, 280 yards, couple of touchdowns, was sacked 4 times. He has been incredible. He had a 140 rating as well. I saw a stat today. I didn't believe this was true. And now you all get to hear it. Over the last 4 games, the team has more touchdowns than it does incompletions. Now, to be fair, that Seattle game is probably doing a lot of heavy lifting. That's a whole game of no incompletions. But still, that is absurd. Okay, that is absolutely absurd. And to think that when we traded for this guy, he was basically like, throw him in there as like okay, you get 2 first rounders, but you got to deal with our quarterback. And it's like, bet, because we got a guy who is playing at an MVP level. And if there wasn't a person named Lamar Jackson that existed in this world, Jared Goff would be running away with the award right now. And look, I have a weird relationship with Lamar Jackson. All right, people who have been fans of the show for a while know. Last year, I was very upset with Lamar, but now he's winning me back a little bit. I'm going back to him a little bit. Anyway, we'll get to Lamar Jackson later. Jared Goff, though, I mean, if Jaden Daniels doesn't exist, is Jared Goff easily the best quarterback in the NFC? I don't see how he's not. Like, who is better in the NFC? Sam Darnold? Like, Jordan Love? Andy Dalton? Any Andy Dalton fans out there? Anybody? No? Nobody? We'll get back to the Andy Dalton fans. No, but Jared Goff, he's the one putting together this offense. There was some other stat that in one of the things that's funny, the Jared Goff haters or the Jared Goff truthers, whatever you want to call them, they would say, oh, well, he falls under pressure. If you blitz him enough, he's terrible. And then another stat that I saw was that, no, actually, in this game, he was 10 for 11 against the blitz. You know, the Brian Flores Minnesota Vikings blitz, one of the best defenses in football, and has been for the past couple of years. 10 for 11 and like a 100 and some quarterback rating. Like, there's no way to get away from it. Jared Goff is having a very similar career trajectory, in my humble opinion. And I pointed this out last year. He's having a very similar career trajectory as Drew Brees did when he got traded from the San Diego Chargers to the Saints. And it is kind of ironic, or it is kind of, I guess, a coincidence. I don't know if you call it irony. You know, he ends up coming to a team that's coached by a Sean Payton protege and Dan Campbell, and former New Orleans Saint player and Lion player, obviously, Dan Campbell. But look, obviously we extended him for that amount of time. I think we are just getting to see this peak level of Goff. Now, will he eventually fall off? Obviously, at the tail end of that deal, he will. Usually that's how that goes. But right now, he is playing at an absolutely unreal level. And speaking of playing at an unreal level, Jahmyr Gibbs have a game. Like, David Montgomery goes down. When he goes down, I'm like, oh, great. Because Jahmyr Gibbs, he really hadn't done a whole lot up to this point. He'd had a couple of nice runs there. He'd had a couple of good plays, but he really hadn't put together an amazing game like he did on Sunday. 116 yards on the ground, couple of touchdowns, and then 44 yards in the air on 4 catches. Obviously, 11 yards per catch there for him. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs stepping up when Montgomery gets banged up. Like, that's the thing. And this is the story of this offense. Oh, David Montgomery has a bad game. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs just ran for 116 yards. Oh, Jamison Williams caught just one ball for -4 yards. Amon-Ra, 112 yards. Khalif Raymond shows up, 3 catches, 39 yards and a touchdown. Did anybody have Khalif Raymond scoring a touchdown in this game? I don't think anybody had him catching a ball this game, but he makes a couple of incredible catches, not just the touchdown. He had a big first down catch. I want to say that was in the third quarter. I don't remember if that ended up being a scoring drive for Detroit or not, but he's been fantastic. And even Tim Patrick, just a couple of catches, but he had a big conversion catch. Like, and we'll get into it near the end of it because there's some news regarding Jamison Williams. But the offense is just so loaded that you lose one piece or one piece doesn't play to that elite level, somebody else steps up. And there's just only so many throws you can give, right? Like, Jamison Williams, love the guy. He's not going to be able to put up 100 yards every game. It's just not going to happen because Amon-Ra is going to demand some throws. Jahmyr Gibbs, frankly, is going to demand some throws. Sam Laporta, Tim Patrick, all these guys are going to demand some element of getting the ball their way. And I really don't know what a defense does to stop this. Maybe you just got to get ahead of Detroit early and force Jared Goff to have to throw it 50 times, kind of like what they did against the Bucks, and pray you win the turnover battle. But that's not much of a strategy. And I guess that just goes to show why the Lions are the best offense in the league right now. And then obviously Jake Bates speaks for himself. Game winner. I mean, talk about ice in the veins. Like, never had he ever been in a situation like that on the road to win. Needs to have it. 44 yards, was it? Not exactly a chip shot, and he nails it. Rookie kicker out of the UFL. Literally did not kick in college. He was a soccer player and then ended up in the UFL, and we find this guy, and maybe we got a kicker. I don't know how long we signed him for, but he certainly has that ice in him, and maybe this can sort of not force Dan Campbell's hand exactly, but maybe this will instill more trust into the kicker, because there was a couple of situations where Dan Campbell did not kick the ball last year, probably due to the kicker situation. But I think with Bates, he's been killing it. And that's right, Mark. He was selling bricks. Like, unironically, this guy was working another job, and then one day was like, yeah, sure, I'll play for the Michigan Panthers. I don't know. Like, you know what? It must be nice to be an athlete, man. You could just go from, I was a mailman the other day, and now I'm making $10 million every time to kick a ball. That's how much is he making? I don't want to even know, but I'm looking it up. 2 years, $1.9 million with $100,000 signing bonus, $150,000 guaranteed. Must be nice. But I mean, either way, he deserves it. He's playing at it. He hasn't missed a kick all year, at least a field goal all year. I think he's missed an extra point. I don't remember though. Now I want to talk a little bit about the defense as well, because you see 29 points and you're like, okay, defense really didn't do you many favors in this game. You had to win it by the skin of your teeth. Nay. All right. Let me put a little bit of this in context. So the first touchdown that Minnesota scores is off of the fake punt, which I don't really, I said it in the broadcast. I don't understand the logic behind that. Like, I understand, maybe you catch them off guard, but when you go 3 and out, right? What is the purpose of going for it on a fake when your offense to that point had not done you many favors anyway. And it's way too early to be doing that. So obviously they fail on the fake punt, and Minnesota takes over 2 plays, score a touchdown. Okay. Is that really on the defense? I guess technically. And you don't know if you punt it, whether or not they would have scored anyway, but it probably be a whole lot harder just based on the way the defense played the entire rest of the first half. And then obviously the scoop and score, David Montgomery fumbles the ball. Minnesota takes it all the way. So that's 14-ish points roughly that you could take off the board theoretically. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just saying it's not like, the defense gave up 5 touchdowns or I guess not 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, right? It's a little different, right? They certainly didn't give up 4, right? They gave up at least 3. Still not great, but over the course of, a 4-quarter game, given the way your offense is performing, that's not too bad. And it also didn't help that the offense kind of slowed down in the second half for the Lions anyway. It started slow, roared to life in the second quarter, tried to, keep the gas on a little bit in the third quarter, and then, you had the scoop and score and all that jazz. All that is to say, though, while this defense was able to perform, and the secondary played really, really well, I thought. You held Justin Jefferson to less than 100 yards, which I don't even remember the last time that we ever did that. I don't think we have ever done that. And Jalen Naylor and Jordan Addison, both of those guys under 100 yards as well. This team still definitely desperately needs some pass rush because Sam Darnold had eternity to throw the ball. I don't know who that person is. I already have stated that I would love to see Max Crosby in a Lions uniform. That is probably not realistic. Unless it is. I don't know. Crazy things happen in Raiderland in Vegas. We need to, and I think Brad Holmes is capable of, and he's more than on point with this. We need to upgrade at that position. I mean, if we want to be able, because we're not going to be able to win these kinds of games like this every single time. Now, again, is the fumble, scoop and score repeatable? Is the fake punt repeatable? Maybe. I don't know, right? I don't know how the game goes if you play it again, but you don't play Minnesota again until the end of the year. Either way, if you're in these kinds of games again, where you go down 10-0 early, or where, they have the ball late and you need a sack to ice the game, I don't think Trevor Nowaski is the solution. I don't think blitzing Alex Anzalone or maybe if he ever comes back, Ifeatu Melifonwu, I don't think those guys are going to be the answer necessarily. So you got to go out and you got to make an upgrade at the position. There's plenty of guys out there. I want to say I saw they were going after Smith out in Cleveland. Zadarius, I think it's Zadarius, something like that. Zadarius Smith out in Cleveland. And finally, before we wrap up this segment, got to talk Jameson Williams because today the news broke. Jameson Williams suspended for the next 2 games. Now, here's what I'm not going to do. I am not going to say Jameson Williams is a problem child. He can't stay on the field. He's terrible. He's super unreliable. I'm not going to do that because when he's on the field, for one, he's a very good player. So there's no world in which he is losing any sort of role on this team. That's just not going to happen. And secondly, it is 2 games in the NFL. I could not care less. I'm sorry. Like, if you think that, oh my gosh, we don't have him for the Titans and then the Packers. Okay, the Packers, sure, that might be a tough loss. I'm sorry. If you lose to the Titans and because you don't have Jameson Williams, you have bigger problems. like that. There is no world where you need Jameson Williams to beat the Titans. So at worst, I could see this team going 1-1 down the stretch, which you might have gone anyway. Because again, the problem with this sort of line of thinking is, oh, they lost to the Packers because they didn't have Jameson. You have no evidence that they would have won that game with Jameson Williams because he didn't play. I don't like it. It just seems silly to me why we're doing this. Now, look, was it a stupid thing to get suspended for? Yes. Should he have been more aware of what he was putting into his body? Yes. Are we going to be able to get through this as a team? Yes. All right. I think of it as, an injury, right? Injuries happen. You can't prevent them a lot of time. Sometimes the NFL nicks you. You get caught. You broke some rule. Okay, you're out next week or you're out the next 2 weeks. This is not a big deal. This frankly, to me, does not wane any of my confidence in Jameson Williams' ability to take the game seriously. I mean, like, again, it's like, yeah, he's gotten into some trouble, at least in terms of NFL rules. What he hasn't done is, go out and beat a guy up at a club or, sleep with some woman that he probably should not have been with. And now she has his kid. He hasn't done these things that generate negative headlines and make it seem like he's not into the game. He's done things that are a little reckless or a little, not paying too much attention to the rules. Fine, fair enough. I have no concerns with Jameson Williams from a character perspective, and I certainly have no concern with him as a player. So to me, it's just a total non-story. I'm not going to scream, "Oh my gosh, we lost to the Packers because we didn't have JMO." Like, if you think that way, I don't know how much football you watch, because that's just not real life. All right, that doesn't. If you lose to a team because you had one wide receiver not play, you weren't that good of a team to begin with. All right, like, this team is 5-1, atop of the NFC, and they have the best offense in football, and they haven't lost a road game the entire season. They're not doing it just because Jameson Williams is on the field. All right, Jameson Williams could have not played in many of these games, and we probably still would have won. Either way. That's all I got. We're on to Tennessee. That we're coming back home. I think that game. Look, we'll get to it in the picks, but yeah, I don't think Tennessee should show up. Frankly, I mean, they could show up if they want, but it's not gonna be great. Watch us lose now. Now that I'm talking all this smack. All right. That was fun. Gosh, Cam Talbot is so old. Why is he on my hockey team? We needed a goalie. That's pretty much the answer. Anyway, let's talk some NFL. Sorry, I lost my words there. So first thing, and I think it's probably the biggest story, is Deshaun Watson's dead. I mean, not literally. Like, he's not okay. He's not literally. I'm not breaking any news. All right, he's not dead. His leg just fell off. So Deshaun Watson, non-contact, Achilles tendon, done for the year. So look, couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Now here's what I will say. All right, there are Browns fans cheering at the fact that he got hurt. Now, all right, I know this might not be a popular opinion on the internet where everybody can be anonymous and they have no, they don't have to live up to any sort of moral standards. We shouldn't be cheering the guy tearing his Achilles. The thing that should happen to him is he should go to jail. That like he shouldn't necessarily have to have his Achilles get torn, right? He should repent. He should stop doing the terrible things. He should acknowledge wrongdoing and turn himself in. That's what he should do. The fact that his Achilles gets torn is perhaps some element of poetic justice, but I'm not going to cheer for that. I'm just not going to do it. But a lot of Browns fans do. Now, what I will cheer for is the fact that he's not playing quarterback for the Browns, because he shouldn't have been playing quarterback for the Browns to begin with, because he has sucked ever since he got there, and he probably was going to suck wherever he ended up, because he hadn't played football. He hadn't played good football in 5 years, in half a decade. So he's done. We now get to see the Jameis Winston show in Cleveland, and I know he's already been indicted as far as being a bad quarterback goes from last year, having Joe Flacco come in and bring your team into the playoffs. If Jameis Winston can go in and make the Browns a playoff team, I mean, you better learn French Canadian, Deshaun. you better learn French Canadian, because that's where you're heading. You're heading to the CFL, and you might not even be good there. Like that to me would be, I mean, it's already a dagger. There's no reason he should be starting for any NFL team, let alone the Cleveland Browns, who desperately need something from the quarterback position. And they've already sold off Amari Cooper, so you already don't have your best wide receiver. Now your best wide receiver is David Njoku. which you good luck. He's a tight end. So that's not really going to do much for you. You're lucky that Nick Chubb is back, but no, I mean, this Browns team, this is the season from hell. This is not as bad technically as 0-16, but it might as well be because not only are you a bad team, you're an unlikable bad team. Like you're not a team that people are like, oh man, that sucks that they got in this spot, man. They deserve better. It's like, no, I mean, they got themselves into this. They built this team this way specifically. And poor Nick Chubb has to come back from injury. He's probably one of the most beloved running backs in football, and he's got to come back from injury, and this is what he comes back to. Absolutely unforgivable stuff from Cleveland. So, yeah, I mean, they deserve everything they get for this, but yeah. Now, I didn't put this in the show notes, but it was pointed out to me. I was watching a little like week 7 recap. I did not know this was the case, and now I have to talk about it. The Packers and the Texans played a football game, and in the first half, Texans are up 19-14, and then they just decided they don't want to play football for money anymore. Most especially CJ Stroud. This is a real NFL stat line from the reigning. Well, I guess he's not gonna repeat this championship or this title. The Rookie of the Year last year. All right, 10 throws to 21 attempts, or 10 catches to 21 attempts, 86 yards, an average of 4.1 in the air, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 4 sacks, 22 QBR, 58 rating. Are we still on the CJ Stroud is a proven franchise quarterback train? Because I'm old enough to remember when I said, look, he's had a good year, but let's stop like crowning guys. Because I said the same thing with Jordan Love, and I've said the same thing with a lot of these. Like, look, I need to see a stretch of years of success. I can't do the 1 year of elite play and then falling off. Because right now, CJ Stroud is in one heck of a sophomore slump. And it's not like the team around him is bad, all right? You have Stephon Diggs. You have, Tank Dell. Although, frankly, Tank Dell, did you even play? Zero receptions for 0 yards. He actually might not have played. I don't really know. You have Joe Mixon in the backfield. Like, and your defense is good too. Derek Stingley and Will Anderson. And, oh my gosh, what's the other guy's name that they brought in this year? Daniil Hunter. Like, they have guys all over this team. And I think D'Amico is a very good coach. So I struggle to understand exactly what it is that is hindering one CJ Stroud here. At a certain point, it's just you, right? And I hate to say that because I'm sure he seems like a nice enough guy, and he seems like he has the talent. But maybe there was too early of a coronation for one CJ Stroud. And again, it's not like Jordan Love played like an amazing game, all right? 220 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a couple of picks is not exactly, Tom Brady-esque, right? I mean, I guess depending on the game. But, like, the Green Bay Packers are not, like, the best team ever, but they're certainly a really good team. And I think that the Texans might fit in a similar category, but week to week, both these quarterbacks, both Jordan Love and CJ Stroud, week to week, you don't know which one you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get the 86 yards or if you're going to get the 300 yards. Actually, I don't even think he's thrown for 300 yards this year, CJ. Let me look that up. Has he thrown for 300 yards this year? Let's see. I'm sure he has. There's no way he hasn't. Yeah, okay. He's done it a couple. Did it against Buffalo and against Jacksonville. Okay, well, Jacksonville, does that really count? Does that really count? I mean, like, I know I'm just kidding around, but does it really? Let's be honest. Let's be honest with ourselves. All right, for one single moment, let's be honest with ourselves. Anyway, I had to talk about that. I didn't put it on the show notes, but I had to talk about it. And notice how in that whole Bengals Browns, I didn't even mention Joe Burrow. I don't want to talk about it. All right, I don't. He is one more of these starts away from permanently being benched for Jared Goff in my fantasy league. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. You can't make me. All right. Moving along, though, to teams that make their fans want to do bad things to themselves. The San Francisco 49ers, this team is dead. I think their season ended before it even started in a way. Christian McCaffrey not being able to play has severely destroyed this team. And it doesn't help that now you have Deebo Samuel in the hospital for pneumonia. You can't make this up. And then Brandon Ayuk goes down for the season. He's dead. His leg fell off. So you're now sitting. I saw somebody point out the healthiest guy on the team right now is the guy who got shot before the season started. Like, yeah, kind of. Kind of. I mean, that's basically it. Like, George Kittle, I guess, is now your best receiver, but he's a tight end. But hey, he was in the documentary, so I guess he sees himself as a receiver. But look, Brock Purdy against this Chiefs defense once again looked absolutely pedestrian. 17 for 31, 212 yards, not a singular throwing touchdown. He did run in for a couple of touchdowns, but 3 interceptions, was sacked just once too. But I'm not going to bury Brock Purdy because now 2 of his best wide receivers and his best running back is not playing for him. And so his stats drop. I'm not going to, I can't bury a guy for that. That's not his fault. But it may not be his fault, but man, it's your problem. You're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to make guys like, Ronnie Bell or George. I mean, George Kittle, you don't really have to work to make better. You're going to have to try to see if you can get Kyle Juszczyk involved. I don't literally. This is where we're at. We're at the. Can Jordan Mason? Can he catch footballs? I don't. Ricky Pearsall, you got shot. I don't know. Maybe you throw the football at him. It's very okay. That's a little insensitive. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what you do if you're San Fran, because right now you're 3-4. Seattle is running away with that division. I don't know if you're going to be able to get into a wild card spot just the way the NFC is turning out with teams like Green Bay, Chicago, Washington, all of those teams, running away with potential wild card spots, if not their divisions. Is it possible that San Fran goes from winning the NFC to not making the playoffs? Yeah, kind of. I think so. The injuries are just way too, they're taking over. And again, it's not like the Chiefs are some powerhouse. I mean, they're winning games. That's the irony. They look awful on offense. Patrick Mahomes, love the guy. You can't throw for 154 yards and 2 picks and call that a good game. The fact that you won this game is nothing short of a miracle. You're lucky that Kareem Hunt decided to go back to 2019 and be a good running back again. Noah Gray was your leading receiver. How either of these teams, how this was, if you would have told somebody who had never watched the NFL, this was their first year, and if you would have told them that this game was a rematch of last year's Super Bowl, i.e. the 2 best teams from each conference, they would have laughed you out of the room. It is what it is. That's just the way the NFL is. And yet the Chiefs are still, 6-0. Kind of like UM wishing national champ. Now look at the dropout. This is true. We'll get to college football in a little bit, Gerald. It's true. But I guess in the context of the NFL, it's at least with Michigan, you could imagine there was going to be a drop-off. You lose your head coach. You lose your quarterback. You lose much of your offensive line. You lose your best running back. You could see that, right? In this case, it's injuries and it's just bad play. I mean, I don't know what the Chiefs were thinking as far as helping this offense in the offseason, because Hollywood Brown is dead. Obviously, he's not playing. He's hurt. If you really thought a rookie receiver in Xavier Worthy was going to come in and be Tyreek Hill, you got another thing coming. I mean, Samaje Perine had more yards catching than Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce is a non-factor at this point. You are basically hoping that Noah Gray can be Travis Kelce 2.0. Good luck. Yeah, he hasn't been Travis Kelce 2.0 since he's been there. He's not going to suddenly become that. If I'm the Chiefs, you got to go out and you got to get a receiver. Like the fact that you let Devontae Adams go to New York, and maybe there was no chance of him actually coming to Kansas City, but you got to be looking for. I mean, Cooper Kupp is on the trade block. You got to make that call. If you don't make that call, if you're Kansas City, I don't know what Andy Reid or what that again, they're probably going to end up being the 1 seed in the AFC anyway, but I just don't get it. Like I just don't understand. Windows don't last long in the NFL. It's true. And you know what's even worse, Gerald? Is you don't know when that window closed. You might have thought, like San Fran, they might have thought, you know what? We still got another 3-4 years. We got Brock Purdy now. We got CMC. CMC's gone. Brock Purdy does not look very good without, many of those weapons, which was expected. Brandon Ayuk, he just went off last year. This year, he's dead. Deebo Samuel had a good year last year. This year, he's dead. Like, you're basically hoping George Kittle becomes Shannon Sharp, which, to be fair, George Kittle's a very good player, but it's wild, man. It's wild. And speaking of wildness, I gotta talk about this because at this point, it's just a comedy act. What the hell did the New York Jets think going into this year? What was their thought process? Did they think, oh, okay, Aaron Rodgers is going to go back to 5 years ago, Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to lead us to victory? Aaron Rodgers is a complete shell of himself, and he should have retired a year ago. This is absolutely pathetic with a capital P. This is a joke of immense levels. And you know what doesn't help? You know what doesn't help? You go in and you bring in Devontae Adams because you still think you got a chance here. You're New York. You got Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. How'd you do on your first game as a Jet? 3 catches, 30 yards. Dead in the second half. Doesn't exist. 3 catches in the first half. I'm done. I'm clocking out. Like, congratulations, New York. You got the Green Bay Packers of 5 years ago. Like, you really are going to be able to win a Super Bowl if you're playing in 2018. Maybe you'll be lucky then. And you know what else? What else I just love? Remember when people were telling us how, oh, well, they got some nice young players like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Breece, let me just ask you, how'd you do this game? Well, he carried the ball 12 times for 32 or 38 yards, 30.2 per carry. Oh, but he had a touchdown. Wait, hold on. Let me pull up how much I care. So, you obviously already fired your head coach. You should have fired the whole thing. You should have fired the GM, basically fired the whole coaching staff. You should just, you should be begging Aaron Rodgers to retire at this point, but you're stuck with him. He's not leaving. You gave him that big contract. Why would I leave? I'm Aaron Rodgers. I'm not the problem. You're the problem. I mean, the way he's talking to the media, he's making it out like, like he's like he's like that Simpsons meme where Principal Skinner is, am I out of touch? No, it is the media that's wrong, right? Right, Aaron? I mean, you're throwing more interceptions than you are touchdowns over the past 3 seasons you played. It doesn't seem to me that it's the media just going after you. Whenever the bright lights are on and whenever you need to make a big play, oopsie daisy, throw another interception. I mean, they were up, 16. They were up 16 to 13 at the half, right? 8 plus 7. That's 15. 15, not 16. 15 to 13 at the half, and then just died. 24 unanswered points in the second half. I think they actually were up. I think there was actually 34 total unanswered points because I want to say those 10 points in the second quarter were after they had scored their 8. And it's not like it would be one thing if this happened and it was up against, I'll toot my own horn here. It was against the Lions or it was against, I don't know, the Bills or one of these teams that are offensive firepowers. You did this against the Steelers. The Steelers, who have Russell Wilson's dead body at quarterback and whose best receiver is George Pickens, who would much more rather have a fight with the other players on the team than care about actually getting better as a receiver. I just I can't. I'm gonna lose my mind. And I want to say, I hate doing the I told you so, but I will tell you so. I was one of the people who, when they got Aaron Rodgers, I was like, this doesn't feel right. This is not gonna work. Like, they have no offensive line. Their coach has not shown an ability at the time. Robert Saleh, their coach at the time, had not shown any ability to coach an offense. They're bringing in Alan Lazard's dead body. Aaron Rodgers hadn't had a good season since 2020, or 2021, I should say. Like, this was doomed to failure. And the Jets and the Browns have similar kinds of situations. They went out and they got the big name guy without the big name stats. And they're paying for it. And nobody feels sorry for them. Everybody's laughing at the Jets, and they should be. At least with the Giants, whatever. You paid your own guy and it didn't work out. Okay. Happens. It's not great, but it's not like you went out, you gave up assets. This was your guy. You had to go get this guy. Aaron, you got one more road win than me. like, if he doesn't think he's the problem, then there's bigger problems in New York than just, the stock exchange or whatever. I don't know. I don't have stocks. Amazing stat for Goff, four games, more touchdowns than incompletions. I did cite that earlier, Gerald. I was saying this Goff is playing at an absolutely unreal level. He's playing at an MVP level. And if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, who we're going to talk about right now, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson putting on an absolute masterclass last night against the Buccaneers, I think that would be the talk of the town in the NFL world is, betting odds for Jared Goff as the MVP. But Lamar Jackson, not one, not two, not three, not four, 5 touchdowns in the air for Lamar Jackson, 281 yards as well, 17 for 22. Absolutely unreal night. Derrick Henry as well had 169 yards on the ground. No touchdowns for him though, which is kind of funny. Rashad Bateman, great game for him. And the story really of this game, on top of just the Lamar Jackson showcase, this is like his MVP game, right? Unfortunately for the Buccaneers, they are getting killed with the injury bug. Obviously, earlier this year, they didn't have, oh my gosh, what's his name? The safety, Antoine Winfield. He comes back this game. He has a pretty good game. He had the 8 solo tackles and a sack. But you lose Mike Evans on what appeared to be another hamstring injury. I think last I heard it was 4 to 6 weeks for him. Chris Godwin, dislocated ankle. That I didn't see this. I at that point I went to bed and I was not watching the game. But Chris Godwin done for the year. So now you're basically hoping for Rachaad White and Sterling Shepard, Cade Otton, and Bucky Irving. That's pretty much your offensive firepower. And I love Baker Mayfield. He's a scrappy quarterback. He's a tough quarterback to beat. And I mean, even in this game, they were down pretty late, and it was pretty much out of reach. But they still ended up making it look close. They had the 21 points in the fourth quarter. This feels like kind of that. Now you really gotta keep yourself afloat here. You're 4-3 on the season, 2-2 at home, which is not ideal. I don't know who they got coming up. I will look at it at the end of the show for the picks, but yeah, it's I think they got Atlanta. And that division, once again, is going to be Tampa Bay versus Atlanta. I think Atlanta's got quite the shot here, especially with given these injuries to kind of push themselves ahead a little bit. But yeah, terrible stuff for Tampa Bay and those injuries to both guys who I really like. Chris Godwin is a pro. He always seems to beat up the Lions. He beat up the Lions in that week 2 game. Mike Evans, he's another one, just absolute pro, really great player, really fun player to watch, and obviously just a one catch for him and just a one touchdown catch for him, and that was the end of his night because that hand. I mean, like when I saw him writhing, I was like, oh boy, that's not good. That's you. If you're hurt, you want it to be like, oh, he's just sort of like, on the ground, but he's like waiting for trainers, and then he gets up and he's all good. You don't want any sort of writhing. That's usually not a good sign. But yeah, So crazy week in the NFL though. And at this point, it feels like the Lions and the Ravens league and everybody else is just sort of stumbling around, despite the fact that the Chiefs are still undefeated. They have to lose at some point, right? I mean, like, do they? I don't know. But which game do you think they're going to lose? They're not losing this week. They're playing the Raiders. Although, Christmas last year. We remember. We don't forget that. All right. Now, let's move along, though. Let's get into some college football. We still got a lot to get to. Still got a lot. Let's start with Michigan State. Michigan State, I would say probably the most impressive win of the year. I mean, prior to this, the most impressive win of the year was winning on the road against Maryland. But this game really encapsulated the Michigan State experience. You had a first half of no touchdowns. You were up 12-0 at the end of the half. Then Iowa kind of comes storming to life a little bit. Aiden Childs gets a touchdown. He has just the one interception. Michigan State able to just keep themselves ahead and avoid any blown leads or anything like that. This to me was Aiden Childs' best game, for one. Like, I don't know how you can look at it any other way. 256 yards, 8.5 average, touchdown and interception, 81 QBR. You know, is it perfect? No, but he also had 51 yards on the ground. This was definitely his best game, and this to me flashed that potential that Aiden Childs definitely has for Michigan State in the future, and it's the reason why he has continued to play. I heard somebody, I think it was this game, saying, "Oh my gosh, we got to put Tommy Schuster in," and I didn't say anything, but I wish I did, because you have to be out of your mind if you think Tommy Schuster is going to do anything different than what Aiden Childs is doing. Okay, there's a reason Tommy Schuster is the backup to Aiden Childs, because he is clearly not winning that job. All right. Like, if you want to destroy Aiden Childs' confidence, yeah, put in Tommy Schuster in a Big Ten matchup at night on homecoming. Do that. That's a great idea. Really, really going to help him out. But on the ground, Michigan State's Cameron Lynch-Adams had 86 yards on 15 carries. Not amazing in terms of, like, individual runs, but overall, Cameron Lynch-Adams was pretty effective. Nick Marsh continues to be a very, very good receiver. 113 yards for him. Montorie Foster Jr. have a game, 100 yards on 5 catches as well. I've been very disappointed in Jack Velling all year. He really has never been involved on this offense. He's had a couple of nice catches, but he's never really done much of anything on the offense. But Nick Marsh, he's starting to develop that chemistry with Aiden Childs, and I think that could be a very nice duo of quarterback, wide receiver for Michigan State. Both those guys, obviously, only where to go is up, you would think, for the both of them. So, yeah, great stuff in there. And, the turnovers dropping drastically is massive. Like, we're not fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line. We're not throwing terrible interceptions. You did have one interception, and you had a couple of balls that were lucky not to be intercepted. But the box score cannot lie. All right. You only threw the one interception. I'm not going to fault you for the defense not making a play if it bailed you out. That's just football, right? That's just sports, frankly. And the defense has continued to kind of keep us in games against teams that we are comparable to, right? Like, Iowa is a team that we were comparable to, and the defense kept us in this game. They gave us that 12-0 lead that we took and ran away with, right? There was no looking back at that point. We were up 12-0, and then that was it. We just ran away with it. And Iowa kind of came close, but they never could get back on top. They could never, like, as soon as we took that 12-0 lead, it was over, because the defense was not going to let them score. And you get the interception as well. Hold Cade McNamara, shout out Michigan. He just cannot win in Spartan Stadium. 150 yards for him. You didn't not a single runner. Caleb Johnson, who was probably their best offensive player, held him to under 100 yards. Now, granted, it was 98 yards, and most of those, I will say though, came from the big touchdown run he got. I want to say in the third quarter. So I'm not even gonna be that upset about the 98 yards, because you probably take away that play and he is significantly lower. But Yeah, I think that basically all of this summation is to say, does Michigan State have what it takes this Saturday to beat Michigan? I think so. I mean, and this maybe Michigan fan is calling me a homer and a Sparty, and that's fine. I am a actual graduate of the school that I root for. So yes, I cheer for Michigan State, and I I try to stay somewhat positive. I look at this team, and then I look at how Michigan performs on a week to week basis, and both teams are inconsistent. Both teams are not good, roughly speaking, at consistently moving down the field and scoring on those drives. However, Michigan State, I think, has the advantage in the quarterback. Now, is Aiden Childs light years ahead of Jack Tuttle? No, he is not. He is at best probably at least his level. Like I I heard today some analysis of like, oh well, Aiden Childs, he's not been good. He's been very disappointing. And look, he hasn't been, Johnny Unitas, but he hasn't been, as terrible, I think, as many people were watching from the outside are saying. The interceptions are a problem, but that's what freshman quarterbacks do. Like I don't if you go back and you look at any young quarterback, one of the things they're going to do a lot, and this is true in the NFL, this is true in college, this is true at any level. Like the big thing that will be a problem is the turnover. And since that Oregon game, so from the Oregon game onward, I think he's thrown just 2 interceptions. Now, granted, it's 2 interceptions in as many games, but again, like if he controls the football and he has shown an ability to move down the field in pressure situations this year, I think he is going to be able to steal you wins this year. And you might say he already stole you one with this Iowa win. I don't think it's really all that far fetched. And I think if Michigan fan is honest with himself, I think Michigan fan would agree. I don't think it's a bygone conclusion that Michigan's just going to out talent Michigan State. I mean, I don't want to be, overly, on the other side of it, but I don't know that Michigan can out talent a lot of teams. Like, as far as I'm concerned, they got the same record as us, and we'd probably lose the same games that they lost. Like, we might even win the same games that they won. Maybe not the USC game, but you get my point. Like, it's comparable. Right? It's not like we're so far beyond. It's not like last year or the year before that, where we are so far beyond what Michigan is. And it's going to be at Michigan, so that's never going to be easy. But do I imagine this is going to be 40-0 at the half like it was last year? No. I mean, if it is on either end, it's a total disaster for whoever's team this is occurring to. So, am I, Michigan State is going to win by 100? No, I'm not. Am I Michigan State very well could win this game if it's close near the end? Yeah. If Michigan State goes up gets to, 20 24 points, I got a hard time believing that Michigan is going to be able to score consistently. They cannot throw the ball, and Michigan State has a pretty good secondary with, guys like Darius Snow out there and Ed Woods and Charles Brantley, all those guys in our secondary, very solid players. I don't even know who Michigan's going to be throwing the ball to Loveland a lot, I imagine. It's really just going to be a matter of who is going to be able to move more effectively down the field on offense when both these teams have shown inconsistency at best. So I think it's going to be a good game. Ultimately, I mean, maybe it might not be the most entertaining game, but I think it will be a close back and forth game. And it's a rivalry game. These games usually are, obviously last couple of years notwithstanding, usually these games are pretty close. When the teams are comparable, the games are usually pretty close. You can go back throughout the years when both teams are ranked, when both teams weren't ranked, the game usually looks pretty close. So it'd be nice for Jonathan Smith to get his first win against Michigan and to get it on the road. That'd be a huge thing for his start here. I think that would, buy him more time for sure. And yeah, I think Michigan State, they're ironically enough, a win next week would actually give us the over, because I believe the over-under for Michigan State this year was 4.5. So we got to win one more game for the over to hit. And I remember all those people laughing at Aiden Childs for saying to take the over. And I want to put some clarification on this before we wrap this up. He did not say, and he clarified this later, he did not say take the over on every single spread. That's not what he said. They asked him about the season and about the over-under, and he said, take the over. And he clarified he was not talking about the game specifically. At that point, it would have been the Florida Atlantic game. He was talking about the season total wins, which was 4.5 by most sports books. So anyway, that's all I got on that. So maybe Michigan State will win. I don't know. We'll be live. We'll be watching it live together, and hopefully I don't have to be sad this weekend. All right. That was a lot of Michigan State talk, I realized. I talk a lot. It's a talk show. What did you expect? So, a few stories here. So, I did allude to it. Difference between Michigan and the elite teams like Georgia, Bama, OSU. These teams reload every year. Michigan gets a once every 20 years run. See, here's the thing, Gerald. You couldn't have criticized Michigan you were not allowed in especially in local circles. You just weren't allowed to point out the fact that Michigan's off season, I don't know if you can really call it that, was a bit lackluster. Like, they promote from within, a very low risk maneuver. They lose a bunch of guys that are not replaced in the portal. They run it basically with the orgy, who's the other quarterback that they had this year? I don't even know what his name. Warren, Davis Warren show. And you were not allowed to point out, hey, I actually don't think this was that great of a, offseason. I think, frankly, Michigan State might have even had a better offseason in terms of the moves that were made and bringing in a new young quarterback in Aiden Childs and bringing in guys like Nick Marsh and Jack Velling and Jonathan Smith, obviously, a proven builder of programs. I just don't think that a lot of Michigan fans and a lot of sports media was ready to do it, because if you were to criticize Michigan at all, you were an Ohio State hater. You just hate us because you think we only won because of the signs. And boy, it's really not looking good for any of the Michigan fans who think the signs didn't help them at all, huh? Really not that great of a look. Anyway, all that is to say, yeah, I don't think Michigan really did enough, for one, on the recruiting standpoint. And the problem is, in college football, it is like it's a vicious cycle. If you have a bad year and you already didn't really recruit, it's only going to hurt your recruiting even more. Because now what are you selling them? You're selling them, oh, well, I guess if you're a quarterback, you're probably going to get a start because we can't seem to identify any quarterbacks. That's basically what you're selling them. Like, try to sell a wide receiver this quarterback room. Because if I'm a wide receiver, out in high school, I don't know which quarterback I'm going to end up with, because you're switching them up basically every other week to mixed results, to say the least. But speaking of Michigan, got to talk about them. Their loss to Illinois. This was just a really bad loss. The Washington loss, that was bad too. But this was incompetence of biblical proportions. Jack Tuttle threw the ball 32 times, which is not Michigan's identity, or wasn't Michigan's identity the years that they were good, last couple of seasons. He had no touchdowns, threw the interception, 208 total yards. Kalel Mullings had the lone touchdown. What do you know? Yeah, like, your best player is the running back that wasn't even featured on the cover of the video game. Donovan Edwards. Yeah, I mean, brother, do you even want to play football professionally? Because 7 carries for 38 yards, not going to do it. Just not going to do it. Michigan now going into this weekend against Michigan State has a chance to get a losing record against the conference and back to a 500 record overall. I guess the one thing, if you're Michigan, is, well, at least we don't have to worry about who we got to play in the playoff, or at least we can identify our weaknesses, and maybe Wink Martindale is going to be homeless and not have a job. I mean, I'm not trying to beat up on Michigan, which I enjoy as much as the next guy. But I'm sorry. What is this wide receiver? Hogan, Hansen, Samaj Morgan is the only guy I can even identify. Colston Loveland is your tight end, and he's your leading receiver. Now, look, Colston Loveland's a really good tight end. He's going to play on Sundays. But no, the other, I don't think, is Samaj Morgan, worth a 5th round pick or a 3rd round pick? The constant shuffling of the quarterback has certainly not helped any of these potential, receivers here develop any chemistry with anybody. And look, is Sharon Moore, could he be in over his head? I'm not here to say that he's, completely done. But man, it really looks bad that the moment that the whole administration leaves up to and including the guy running your little cheating scandal, and then all of a sudden you look like you don't know how to game plan at all. I mean, what I get it. You lose talent. That just it's a reality. But it's not simply that you are losing. It's that you are losing in ways that are so beyond it wasn't like Illinois' Luke Altmaier went out and had a Patrick Mahomes stat line or a Joe Burrow 2019 LSU stat line. He threw the ball 18 times and had 80 yards. You lost to a quarterback who did not throw for 100 yards. Do they have any 100-yard rushers? Nope. They had their leading rusher was Aiden Lafferty. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it, who ran for 54 yards. Their leading receiver, Pat Bryant, had 32 yards. It wasn't just Michigan State, Ohio State, and oh my gosh, Jeremiah Smith had another touchdown. It was you weren't even showing up, basically. Illinois didn't really even show up, and they knocked the doors off of you. The game was over basically at the end of the 3rd quarter. Look, I know I'm a Michigan State fan. I'm not allowed to be mean to Michigan because I don't know. I went to the school that I root for. I guess that's the problem. But yeah, Michigan, Jerome Moore, I don't know how much time you're going to give this guy to figure out the quarterback, because if he doesn't get it within the next 2 years, he might need to think about another line of work. Certainly not for Michigan. Speaking of Big Ten and quarterbacks, Indiana completely pantsed Nebraska. I got to tell you, I actually do have a question. This is not even me being facetious. What happened to Dylan Raiola? What? He went from imitating Patrick Mahomes to 234 yards and 3 picks. What happened? What happened to all the vibes in Nebraska? Is this Indiana, for one? The fact that they're even good is incredibly impressive. Indiana has never been good at really anything other than basketball when the 70s. But Nebraska, to me, this is the bigger story because, Matt Rule, he's a program builder. He's supposed to be, he got his guy, right? Dylan Raiola, he got his quarterback. I don't know if this was just a one-off. And let me just take a look at his, game logs, the last few games. Wins, but not particularly impressive wins. He hadn't thrown for over 250 yards since September 28th. He had barely a win against Rutgers at home. He had a pretty good win against Purdue on the road, the loss in overtime to Illinois, and then it's just a bunch of garbage teams and Colorado. But I repeat myself. I don't know. He went from, the promised child, the beloved, to 9 touchdowns to 6 interceptions on the year. So I don't know. He'll have to figure it out, but I don't. Does not look good for Nebraska, at least not right now. Because if he's your guy, if he's the one that's gonna bring Nebraska football back, I don't know. If you're losing to Indiana 56-7, that's not good. That's not good. Tennessee. Speaking of upsets and things, Tennessee takes over Alabama 24-17. I pointed this out. Is this just like the drunkest year of college? This is absolutely not like every year or every week. It's like, okay, I don't know. Maybe Texas is the best team in the league, or Texas is the best team in football. Nope, they're gonna lose. We'll talk about that later. Maybe Alabama's. Nope, they lose. Like Alabama's now got its second loss of the year. Second in conference loss puts them at 500 in the conference. Like this is what I'm getting at. Another loss and Bama might not make the playoff. I don't know any Alabama fans personally because I'm from Michigan and there's not many Alabama fans up here. If you don't make the playoffs as Alabama in your first year without Nick Saban, I am not blaming Kalen DeBoer because I think he's going to be a fine head coach. I don't know how Alabama fans are going to be able to react. This is going to be very similar to that transition that Patriots fans had to go through. When Bill Belichick, in 2020, post 2020 Patriots, right? Post, Mac Jones looking really good in his rookie year Patriots. After that, Patriots fans went through a weird denial and depression state, and now they're just in the hurt me more stage, basically. I don't think it's going to be that bad for Alabama, but they're going to have to accept you are not going to win a national championship overnight. Kalen DeBoer is going to have to build this program. He's going to have to instill his own view of how to run a team, and he's going to have to bring in his own guys, and that's just how it's going to have to go. I hate it for him. Ryan Williams is a very good player. He's very fun. Jalen Milroe is very fun, but I don't know. And props to Tennessee for keeping themselves alive because there was they needed this win. They needed to be able to keep their season alive, to keep a playoff hope alive for Tennessee. They needed this win, and they got it in spades. So, look, every week it just seems there's some crazy upset in college football. So if you're not watching college football, man, what are you doing? I mean, to be fair, I've missed a lot of college football from being busy on Saturdays and such. But the storylines alone, just from the narrative stuff alone, it's incredible. It's a lot of fun. So, I mean, I don't know if you can correlate this exactly to this, new era of all these, new conferences and new teams, but it certainly has played out pretty well. And then lastly, I do have to talk before we get into the AP poll, and then before we talk about next week's games, I do have to talk about Texas and Georgia. I just don't understand. I don't understand either of these teams. Georgia goes from getting the doors knocked off them by Alabama, then sort of coming back and then losing, and then now they're just back again. They're just back to beating teams by suffocating them. Georgia goes up, what's that? 23-0 at the half, and then they never look back. It's just, to me, I just don't understand it. Can somebody explain? And on Texas's end, Quinn Ewers went from, in week 2, knocking up Michigan and destroying them on national TV and looking like a Heisman Trophy winner to 211 yards on 43 passes, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Bring in Arch Manning. I don't want to play football anymore. I just don't get it. And look, it keeps the interest alive for longer, right? It's is Texas going to lose next week? Who do they play? Don't they? They don't. I think they play Vandy. Oh no. Oh my gosh, they do. Oh no, they play Vanderbilt on the road. Oh no, that can't be good. Look, and then Georgia, to their credit, they also, I think, were written off a little bit with that couple of that stretch of games where they lose to Alabama, and they make it. It's a little close against Mississippi State, but now they get this win against Texas on the road, number 1 team in the country at that point. They're pretty much just looking, the rest of their season. Like, what's their toughest game? Maybe Tennessee? I don't know, because I don't know what Tennessee team you're going to get. I don't know what Georgia team you're going to get. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, with that, though, we're going to take a look at the AP poll. So, this AP poll is very funny, and that's why I like this AP poll. So, Oregon goes up to number 1. Speaks for itself. Georgia moves up 3 spots. They're now number 2. Texas drops 4 spots. They are still in the top 5. They are number 5. Tennessee jumps up 4 spots into the top 10, number 7. Clemson jumps up a spot to number 9. Iowa State drops a spot to number 10. BYU, undefeated, never lost. Up a couple of spots there in the Big 12. They are number 11. Indiana, they jump up 3 spots. Indiana is very, very close to being a top 10 team, and I wouldn't be shocked if they end up that way at the end of things. Alabama drops 8 spots thanks to that loss against Tennessee. They are now number 15. Kansas State moves up a spot. They are 16. Boise State drops a couple of spots. Pitt goes up a spot to 19. Illinois goes up into the top 20. They are number 20. Missouri drops a couple of spots to 21. SMU drops a spot. Army and Navy continuing to stay in the top 25. Navy goes up to 24. And then, just like everybody expected, Vanderbilt, the Commodores, are in the top 25. This is, I want to say, the first time in my lifetime that they've ever been in the top 25. It's probably the first time in most people's lifetimes. I have no explanation. And you know what's even worse or potentially better? I have no reason to believe they have 0 chance against Texas. But you know what? You know what's probably going to happen? Quinn Ewers is going to throw for 5 touchdowns, and it's going to be 100-0 at the end of the second quarter. Because this year is at least as unpredictable as college football has ever been. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Take a look, though, actually, at some previews. So actually, there are a couple of games technically going on right now. Sam Houston at Florida International. I think Florida International is probably going to win this game. It's just one guy, so they should be able to beat Sam Houston pretty easily. I'm not going to talk about the other games because none of these games matter. But Friday night, you got Rutgers at USC at 11 p.m. Nothing says Big Ten football like 11 p.m. Friday night start. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything about that game. Nebraska at Ohio State. If you would have told me this game 3 weeks ago, I would have said this could be interesting, but no longer. No longer will it be interesting. Notre Dame at Navy. Noon. ABC. That is a game to watch out for. I'm going to be rooting for our boys in the Navy. I'm going to be rooting for the Navy over Our Lady, Notre Dame. It's such a weird timeline. Navy is actually a respectable football team, and it's not just a write-in of, okay, yeah, I mean, they're just going to lose, and everybody's not. Like, that Army-Navy game at the end of the year, that actually might be a really entertaining game. So, yeah, that should be fun, though. Just moving along here. Missouri at Alabama, 3:30 on ABC. That could be a pretty good game. Again, Alabama looking to bounce back. Missouri kind of spiraling a little bit. Maybe Alabama has this as their get-right game, but who knows, man? I have nothing. I have nothing for it. LSU at Texas A&M, 7:30 on ABC as well. I think that's probably your game of the week. Probably the game to look out for most. Both of these teams are kind of in weird spots in my mind, or Texas A&M, and somewhat similar spots, actually. Both these teams start off the year kind of rough. They've climbed their way back into things and back into respectability. I think this is going to be a tough game for either of them. I do think that LSU probably comes away with the win, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. And then obviously we already talked Michigan State. That's at 7:30 on the Big Ten Network. So things are going well when they had to push this game to the Big Ten Network because none of the actual national broadcasts were like, yeah, we'll take this game. One of the bigger rivalries in the Big Ten. Yeah, we'll go ahead and put that on the Big Ten Network. Yeah, that's never a good sign. Really never a good sign. And then I guess if you want to hate watch, Cincinnati's at Colorado. Colorado beat Arizona, and I do not care. You know that Deion Sanders is 1-6 against ranked opponents? 1-6. Show me a win that I care about, Deion, and then maybe I'll give you some props. So, all right. So with that, we got a couple more segments here. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back, and we'll get into MLB playoffs and NBA season preview, and then we'll get to the picks. I'll be right back, and then we'll get into that. All right. Oh, I also missed this message here. Since college football now has NIL, I would like to see a cap kind of rule like NFL has. Make coaching matter more. I mean, there's got to be some sort of regulation on it. Like, it just seems ridiculous to me that, teams can just sort of outbid guys or outbid other programs, because it's not like we're dealing with, in professional sports where, sure, there is some discrepancy in how rich certain owners are, but in general, it's not enough that would warrant, real, most teams should be able to spend at any level to be able to get talented players, and there wouldn't be any real problem. However, in college, this is not the case. I mean, like, Michigan State is not going to be able to outbid Georgia or, frankly, Ohio State. It's just not going to happen. So they're going to have to implement something. And frankly, it's like, well, you guys want to be paid like professionals. Well, then you're going to have to, sign a agreement. You're going to have to sign a contract, get a player union, get like a, some sort of, what's it called? Collective bargaining agreement. And then we can move along. But until then, it just seems like the college football is a little bit just like video game, like basically. All right. But anyway, get into some MLB playoffs really quick. So in the American League, the Yankees going to the World Series, 4-1 series win. They clinch thanks to a Juan Soto 3-run home run in extra innings in Cleveland. You just hate to see it for Cleveland. You just hate to see it. But the Yankees, they come out of this postseason far and away the best team. They're the number 1 seed. And we're in for a heck of a World Series, because they're going to be taking on the LA Dodgers, who had a 4-2 series win over the Mets. They blow them out to finish the series. This is going to be an absolute barn burner of a World Series. And I know This is all the jokes. Oh, this is the network stream. This is Rob Manfred's. This is all a part of the plan. If this is a part of the plan, I'm with it. All right. Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge in the World Series. How can you pretend that this is a bad thing? All right. Look, I would have loved to see the Grimace Mets and my Detroit Tigers in the World Series. I would have loved it. It would bring me nothing but great joy. However, this is the World Series that the world wants to see. And I hate to be that guy, but it just is. All right. I guarantee you this will be one of, if not the most highly rated World Series in over a decade, probably potentially even longer than that. Because you are putting the two biggest market brand teams, LA, New York, LA Dodgers, and New York Yankees, up against one another in the World Series. This, with the best player in the world in Shohei Ohtani, has a chance to get a World Series championship in his first year as a Dodger, and he hasn't even pitched a game. This to me is going to be really, really entertaining. I have no idea who's going to win this. I could see it going either way. In a way, maybe you just say the Dodgers because they have so much talent up and down. But then you look at the Yankees, they have so much talent up and down. Like this is a heavenly end, I would say, to finally end these schoolyard debates of who's better, Aaron Judge or it is Shohei Ohtani. Everybody knows that. But who is the better hitter, right? Because Shohei, as a player, is better than everybody. But he's not hitting, or he's not pitching, I should say. I think that this could go, this very well could go to 7 games, and I really hope it does. Yeah, you had 2018 Dodgers, Red Sox, but this is even bigger. I mean, this is the Yankees, and it's now Shohei Ohtani. This is beyond anything in recent memory for me, at least. We're going back to basically the 80s and 90s World Series. If this is what it takes to revive baseball on the national stage, who says no? Who says no? Now, I want to talk a little bit about the losers of each championship series briefly. So for the Guardians, I got to say, their bullpen was the strength of their team the entire season. They completely let the team down all series. They did not perform well at all. Every other game was Emmanuel Clase was giving up timely hits, giving up leads. I mean, obviously the extra innings, the bullpen gave up a big home run. If you're Cleveland, I mean, certainly you tip your cap because you got out talented in a way. They need probably some more starting pitching. I mean, you're just not going to be able to win a World Series when Matthew Boyd is in your starting 5. You're just not going to be able to do it. And look, Shane Bieber gets hurt at the beginning of the season. People thought their season was done. The fact that they got to the ALCS and were 3 wins away from going to the World Series is, pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. So I don't see, this as a failure entirely, but the bullpen failing them in this stage really, harmed them. Tigers definitely gave the Yankees blueprints to beat the Cleveland Arms. Kind of. I think Gary Carpenter kind of broke Emmanuel Clase. I don't know what happened to it. He went from being one of the best elite closers to, I mean, I don't think this was ever going to happen, but a finalist for the Cy Young to absolutely putrid, to being a liability to put on the mound. So, yeah, stinks for them. And then on the Mets side, look, the Mets were fun, but they couldn't beat the Dodgers. There was no world they were going to beat the Dodgers. I mean, again, you were getting production from guys like Jose Iglesias, all right? The Mets obviously do have talent. Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, they have guys. But it wasn't really ever sustainable. It was fun. It was cool. It was exciting. Sean Manaea, fun, cool stuff. But it's just not. It's not real life, right? It's a team getting hot and believing their own propaganda. I do think that the Mets have something they can get going here. they'll have to make some proper investments. Problem is, I just don't know what guys like Pete Alonso are going to be demanding. Not that the Mets can't pay that price, but more like, okay, is Pete Alonso, is he willing to take a cut to stay on this Mets team that just went on this miraculous run? You never know. Main priority for the Tigers this offseason. I did do a video on this last week, Detroit fan. It was part of the show last week where I talked about it. Basically, my thing was sign your own guys. So sign Skubal and Green and all that. Bring in some veteran bats, guys like, potentially you could give Alex Bregman a call. Maybe not him, you could go after Anthony Santander. You could go after Christian Walker. There's plenty of nice veteran bats out there that you go get, and you could maybe you could trade for Brent Rooker. There's plenty of guys that you could go out there and probably bring in a pitcher or two, because you're not going to be able to repeat what you did with your bullpen. Maybe you give Jack Flaherty a call, see if he wants to come back. I don't know what stage Justin Verlander is really in, if he wants to come back or if he is going to be even productive, even if he does come back. I'd have to look deeper at some of the pitchers. But yeah, in general, sign your guys, bring in some vet bats, maybe bring in a couple of pitchers, and then just get Baez out of here. Like, Baez needs to be gone. He needs to be on a plane to anywhere other than Detroit. Just get into the Metro Detroit airport and send him off. Just leave him at a terminal and wherever it goes. Brant Herter. I don't know. Like, I fundamentally don't really believe in the bullpen start as a long-term plan. Like, it works in spurts, and you can have it to great success. And when you have a good manager like AJ Hinch, he's going to be able to do it more successful than he's not. But I think you do need to bring in these guys. And hey, Sorry Gibson Long, that's another one. He's a younger guy. He didn't play all year. Maybe he comes up healthy and he's a productive pitcher. I also want to mention Casey Mize, but I don't, that he, to me, has we've lost the plot with Casey Mize. He does not appear to be worth that number 1 overall pick. At least, like, he's not even close to the level that Tarek Skubal is at, and that's the kind of production we would need from him, from a number 1 overall pick pitcher. All right. So before we get to the picks, we're going to spend a little bit of time in the NBA, because the NBA is starting tonight. A couple of games are happening right now. Pistons opening night is tomorrow night. They play the Pacers. So we're going to talk a little Pistons briefly, and then a couple of storylines in the East and West Conference, and some of my sleeper teams, just throwing them out there. So my question for the Pistons this year: is this finally the year that they can put together a 30-win season? I've been saying this since, like 2022. I've been saying, can they please just get to 30 wins? That's all I ask. 30 wins. I actually do think it's possible. You get another year of Cade Cunningham development, and this time, I think, under a potentially very good head coach in JB Bickerstaff. You now have, and he's here for the long haul, so there's no worry about contract stuff with him. You have no worry of Killian Hayes holding the team back because he's gone. And I also saw earlier this week, he also got cut from the Nets before the season started. So, yes, it's rough being Killian Hayes. No, it's not. He's getting paid like millions of dollars. He's fine. But instead of Killian Hayes, you have, Jaden Ivey sticking around, and he's going to likely be in your starting rotation every night. Simone Fontecchio, Jalen Duren, 2 young-ish players that have a lot of room to grow in this league. And on top of some of the moves you made, Malik Beasley, I think he was a solid pickup. Tim Hardaway Jr., I like that trade. I don't think Tim Hardaway Jr. is some superstar caliber player who's going to put you over the edge, but he's an adult in the room. He's a vet. He's from the area. I don't think he's going to be a net negative for the team. And if he is, whatever. You're not linked to him long term anyway. Basically, you would need some really massive steps forward for all of these young guys on the Pistons. and for this coach to really hit the nail on the head and be able to get the best out of his guys in order for this team to do anything of note, i.e., make the play-in or the playoffs. Playoffs is pretty much impossible. I do not see that world for the Pistons. They just don't have enough established talent at that point. The play-in is like the ceiling, the absolute ceiling of like everybody stays healthy and Cade Cunningham is an all NBA caliber player, basically. Like, and I know what some people, it's like, oh, whoa, all NBA. Let's relax. Guys, we picked him number 1 overall. Like, I don't know what rock you're living under, but like I need more than, 20, 24 points a game. I need like give me close to 20, give me close to 28, and then we can have a conversation. Look like Tyrese Halliburton last year, or play like, I know these guys have different plays. I understand. I'm not saying he's got to put up the same number, but he has to be close to that level, and I think he could be. There's a reason he was taken number 1 overall, but we'll see. I do have a weird optimism with this Pistons team because to me, last year was a lot of fugazi, and it was a lot of, all right, we put all this money into this coach. This is going to be the year where we're finally going to have some life. I feel like because there hasn't been a lot of, talk around the Pistons and it's just been focusing on, all right, nobody's talking about us. We're not getting a whole lot of attention in the media. We're just making quiet, solid moves. Like I said at the time, I kind of liked what they handled in the offseason. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Starting 5 will be Cade Cunningham, Tobias Harris, Jalen Ivey, Jalen Duren, and Simone Fontecchio. To me, this is pretty decent. Like, I mean, not like, make the play-in decent, but if Cade Cunningham is, like I said, an all-NBA caliber player, if Jaden Ivey can, be a great second option, Jalen Duren can be an all-defensive kind of player or a second-team all-defensive. If Simone Fontecchio can be a nice, 3-and-D kind of guy, because his whole thing was that he could shoot, and this team desperately needed some shooters. Like, if you can have Jaden Ivey and Simone Fontecchio be your wings that you can, Cade can deal the ball off to them in wide open looks and get the 3 ball. And you got Jalen Duren playing really solid defense and Tobias Harris being a vet presence, a leader in that room. I think they could put a competent brand of basketball out there. Now, I say all this knowing that I will probably inevitably be disappointed, and who knows? It might just turn out that I'll be calling for JB Bickerstaff's head in 3 years or 2 years. Who knows? Maybe even this year. Meanwhile, moving on to the Eastern and Western conferences. Starting in the East, I got a few storylines here. So first of all, Boston, the Celtics defending their title. Pretty much unbeatable once they were healthy last year. Are they going to be able to maintain this? I think so. They really didn't have a whole lot of flaws last year. They are absolutely incredible from a talent standpoint. I mean, memes aside on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, it's a very good basketball team in Boston. I think they're going to continue to wreak havoc on the East. I don't see them taking a step back here. Now, will they repeat? That's another question. It's not easy to repeat in the NBA. I don't know that they're going to be necessarily a, dynasty, but very good team, very talented team. I did see that as well. Wings up 1-0. I saw Patrick Kane and Tarasenko as well. I think it was Patrick Kane, Tarasenko, and Comfer were on the assists. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Another team in the East, Orlando. Last year, fun season. Made the playoffs. Almost won a playoff series. Almost. But, can they take that next step? I like Paolo Banchero and who's the other guy they got? Franz Wagner. I think they got something going there in Orlando. It's so difficult though for a team to take that next step in the NBA, especially it seems. I'm hoping that Orlando can do that this year. They're one of those teams that just they have a lot of, you look back, you had Shaq, you had Dwight Howard, and they just never really put anything together. I think this could be the group of guys that maybe they can put something together for. Who knows? And then a team that I think definitely has put something together is the Knicks. The Knicks made impressively massive improvements They bring in Karl Anthony Towns. They bring in Mikal Bridges. Is this finally the year that the New York Knicks are back on top? Is Spike Lee, is he going to be leaping up and down? Is Stephen A. Smith finally going to have a year where his basketball team is not dead? I think they very well could. I think if there is a team that can threaten Boston right now, on paper, I think it's the New York Knicks. And it's kind of funny because it's like New York and Boston, the two most hated sports towns, have two teams that I think, frankly, as a non-New York or Boston sports fan, I do find both of their teams to be fun to watch. I like there's a reason they're good. So yeah, I mean, Jalen Brunson is an absolute dog. I think he is one of, if not the most valuable player to any team, really. And I don't mean that by like, oh, he's the best player. I mean like he is the embodiment of New York. Like he is everything to that team. So and he's so much fun to watch. I love it. And I know I probably really rarely get to see him because I'm going to be basically just watching Pistons games. But I'm sure once the playoffs hit, we're going to see Jalen Brunson just going off like he did last year. So let me actually turn that light a little lower. Yeah, I had it like this, and then I noticed I was like, oh, it's a little off, and then I turned it up a little brighter, and I was like, that is really bright. I like this much better. So then I got my sleeper teams. We got the Pacers. I think they put together a pretty solid roster last year. They impressed me immensely, and I thought maybe they were going to be able to go on a run there, and then they just disappointed me. The Cavs as well. Obviously bringing back what's his name, Donovan Mitchell. I don't think most people expected them to be able to do that. But they did. And then obviously I mentioned the Magic before, so I think those three teams are going to be teams to watch out for to take that step forward in the East. Moving on to the West. So this one is much more harsh. This conference, like the East, I'm like, yay, happy, fun. And then the West is just like, I hate all of you. You all are terrible, and I wish you would all die, basically. So first story is obviously the JJ Redick Lakers and the Bronny James experience. So first of all, I think that JJ Redick is an ass. I can't stand JJ Redick. I don't think this is going to go well for LA. Not that things were going well with Darvin Ham, but you basically just brought in LeBron's yes man to coach your basketball team. I don't know how much longer LeBron has in the league, if I had to guess. Obviously this year, at least, because he wants to play a game with his son. But one problem. His son stinks, all right? His son couldn't hack it against G League guys in the summer league. He couldn't really hack it against G League guys in the preseason. He's going to get a regular season start tonight. Or not, maybe not a start. He's going to get regular season playing time tonight. There is no world to me where he should be playing in the NBA. He should be playing in college. And frankly, he maybe should even be playing in junior college because he was awful for USC last year. I don't know. To me, and I talked about it during the offseason and it's like, to me, this is just a phony organization. This is like Dallas Cowboys level stuff. It's like, oh, whatever. We'll just phone it in. Ha ha, here comes JJ. He's so smart. He was on ESPN. He called the players that Michael Jordan played against plumbers and mailmen because he doesn't know anything about basketball because he went to Duke. And look at me. Wee! I can throw the ball and I can make a three. I'm having a fun time. No, this is all just a total nonsense. This is all just total fugazi. I don't know what the Lakers' plan is long term because short term, this is going to blow up in their face. I do not see this going well. And speaking of things not going well, Phoenix, this is your last chance. If you do not show me something this year, you're dead. You're dead. I'm done with you. Okay? You went from 3 years ago, was it? Yeah, 3 years ago in the conference finals. 2 games. I want to say they were up 2-0, right? They were up in that series. Or not in the conference finals, in the finals. And they blow that. Chris Paul eventually ends up leaving because of that awful, a terrible game that you got blown out to the Mavs. And then this year, Kevin Durant, what's his name? Oh my gosh, Bradley Beal. Beasley. Bradley Beal comes in. They're going to have a fun offense. They don't need defense. And then they just suck. They just suck the whole year. And then they die in the playoffs. Like, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. All right. Show me something. I'm not interested anymore. Kevin Durant, you're a part of the problem. Charles Barkley was right. You can't drive the bus. You're a bus rider. You are not a bus driver. Now a little bit of fun, potentially. Dallas, they bring in Klay Thompson. This is either going to be, I think, the move that puts them over the edge or is a disaster waiting to happen. Klay Thompson is still a really good player. Okay? He's still a very good basketball player. However, it does concern me when the team that drafted him and developed him and won with him let him walk. That concerns me a little bit. That tells me maybe they know something. Maybe they don't. Maybe they realize, yeah, Klay, you're pretty much done with us. Like, they let him walk, but Draymond is still here. Draymond is still in Golden State. I'm not saying that this is going to be a total disaster, but maybe Klay just doesn't have that clutch factor that he used to have. And Dallas is going to need him to be clutch. Maybe he shows off, but this and you know what? I'm going to use I feel like I use this a lot because I think it's a very apt player to use in these situations. So to me, this is your Javi Baez moment, Dallas. If Klay Thompson is good, if he's good, Javi Baez, so to speak, then you're fine. Then you're doing well. Everything's great. He's clutch. He's going to hit those big shots. He's going to be a big name player. He's going to develop that chemistry with Luka. Dallas is going to love him. Or he will be Javi Baez. He will not be able to be the kind of player he was in Golden State. He will, just fall into irrelevancy slowly but surely. And it'll go down as one of the biggest blunders of a signing for a team that could have had that chance to take that next step. I am more inclined to believe it is the former and not the latter. But I don't think that it's completely. I don't think it's so clearly, oh yeah, of course he's going to light it up with the Maverick. It is odd to me and it's strange to me that the Warriors let him walk. Given, the whole dynasty. Usually you don't let guys like that walk. But stranger things happen. Now, on to the sleeper teams. We got the Kings, team that I thought was really disappointing last year. I think they have a chance to bounce back this year, though. Sort of reset it. The Pelicans. I mean, maybe this the year Zion Williamson can really put it together and be that guy. Brandon Ingram sticking around as well. Is this the year that the Pelicans put it together? I hope so, because Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson together, that sounds like a very, very fun combination of guys. And then I also threw in the Timberwolves because, look, maybe they bring in Julius Randle and they move Cat out and that solves some of the problem. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, I love the guy. I think he's a really good player, but he does have this thing about him where he will just falter under the lights, under the pressure. And I know everybody makes fun of Rudy Gobert, but I don't see why the hate. He is consistently a very good defensive player who gets mocked routinely. And I guess I just don't understand it. I don't get it. Yes, we did talk about that earlier in the show. MSU Detroit fan. But basically my takeaway is, look, if you think that your season is over because you lose JMO for 2 games, you're overreacting and you need to relax, right? RELAX. All right. It's not great, but you should be able to beat Tennessee without JMO, and you should still be able to match Green Bay even without Jamison Williams. Tim Patrick, wide receiver too. I mean, you could Sam Laporta more involved. But I mean, honestly, Tim Patrick has been really solid. I don't see why he couldn't be wide receiver too. He hasn't gotten a lot of throws his way, but I don't even know that it's really going to matter that much. That's sort of my thing. It's like we run the ball a lot anyway. A lot of those throws are going to end up going to Amon-Ra. I heard something this morning. Oh, how, Amon Ra was able to get open so well because JMO is. It's like, where have you been? Jamison Williams has not been on the team for much of. He was not on the team for most of 2022, and he was a non-factor in the game. And in last year, he really was also not much of a factor for the most part. And what do you know? Amon Ra was still able to get open. I just don't. Some people. What? But, wow, this is a very long show. Very long show. But we're at that point in the show. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody loves it. It is time for the picks. All right. So we got a full slate of games this week. And last week, I don't want to talk about it. All right? I don't want to talk about it. I actually had a pretty good week, 11 wins, but I'm upset because I took the Browns, and I should never be forgiven for that. I should never take the Browns. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Don't take the Browns. Isn't the music volume? 22. That's good. All right. Here we go. So, Thursday night football, we got the Vikings at the Rams. Seth is taking the Vikings, and I will have to agree. I don't know what the Rams are really doing. They're thinking about trading Cooper Kupp. Everybody is hurt. Their leading receiver is Tutu Atwell. It's not going good in La La Land for the Rams. Vikings come off a tough loss to Detroit, but I think they're going to be able to bounce back. Yeah, give me the Vikings. Give me the Ravens at the Brownies. Seth is taking the Birds. Yeah, obviously you got to take the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is playing at an MVP level. The Browns do not have anything resembling an offense, and that's not going to change with Deshaun Watson going down. You can put Jameis Winston in there. It's probably not going to change much. It might be. If it is better, that's an indictment. But, yeah, give me the Ravens. Then the Titans visiting the Lions in Detroit. Seth is taking the Lions. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Obviously, Lions going to be without Jamison Williams this game, but this Titans team is terrible. Will Levis, Mason Rudolph, whoever is at quarterback, stinks. This should be an easy win for Detroit. If they don't easily win this game, I will be very disappointed. I won't be that. I'll be disappointed. Anyway, moving along. Colts visiting the Texans. Little divisional matchup here. Seth is taking the Texans. I'm going to agree again. I really hope we don't disagree all the way down the board. But, yeah, I mean, like, the Colts are one of those teams that I can't truly trust because I just don't. They should just be running it with Joe Flacco because I don't think Anthony Richardson is the answer at quarterback for them. On the other end, C.J. Stroud, it really has not looked all that good, but I think this could be a game. I want to say they got the win over the Colts earlier this year. I think they can finish the sweep here. It's going to be a close one, but I do think that the Texans get the win. Give me Houston. Up next, the Packers at Jacksonville taking on the Jaguars. Seth is taking the Pack. Yeah, I have to agree as well. Give me the Pack to get the win. Trevor Lawrence, yeah, you had a good game in London. I don't care. You played New England. You basically played a CFL team. I have no faith in Jacksonville to get this right. It might be an ugly game because you never know what kind of Jordan Love you're going to get from Green Bay, but I do think that they're better coached. They're just a better roster. Yeah, give me the Packers to get the win on the road against Jacksonville. Cardinals at the Dolphins. Seth is taking the Dolphins in this one. I refuse. So allegedly, Tua Tagovailoa is going to be playing this game. I'd be shocked if he plays anywhere near a competent level. I think the Cardinals are going to win this game. I think Kyler Murray is one of the more underrated players in the league. Last night, getting the win over LA. Not exactly an elite win, but a win nonetheless. I think that the Cardinals see the writing on the wall with teams like LA and San Francisco in their division kind of faltering. I think they see a pretty wide open division. Seattle, who knows if they're going to end up staying at the rate that they are. So give me the Cardinals get the win on the road against the Dolphins. Jets at the Patriots. Oh my gosh, somebody kill me, please. Jets at the Patriots. I don't know if I said that right. Seth is taking the Patriots in this game. Oh my gosh, somebody's got to win this game, right? I actually don't know. I'm going to go with the Patriots. Drake May is starting. He's looked pretty okay. Hasn't been able to get a win yet. So what better time than to do it against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets? I want to say I picked the Patriots the last time these teams played on Thursday Night Football, but I don't care. I hate the Jets, and I will never pick them. Give me the Patriots. Falcons at the Buccaneers. Seth is taking the Buccaneers. I am going to take the Birds. I don't know who they're going to have at receiver. Like Chris Godwin's foot fell off. Mike Evans is not going to be playing this game. I think that this is prime for the Falcons to get a nice win. They had a rough game against Seattle, so we'll see if they can put something together here. But I don't know. It's tough for Tampa Bay. I think it's just gonna be the Falcons due to those injuries. Eagles at the Bungles. This is the battle of mid. Seth is taking the Eagles. I really don't know who to pick. I'll go with the Bengals. I don't know. Home team. Both these teams kind of. Excuse me. Both of these teams kind of stink. I don't think that the Eagles are going to have a hard time scoring because that Bengals defense is terrible. But I also don't think that the Bengals are going to completely look anemic because it's going to be at home. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Give me the Bengals. I've run out of things to say. I've run out of things to filibuster. Saints at the Chargers. Seth is taking his Chargers. I'm going to agree. Chargers coming off a tough loss to Arizona. The Saints completely decimated by injuries. I think the Chargers are going to win this just simply by the talent difference and the coaching difference. Jim Harbaugh is a much better football coach than Dennis Allen, and the Chargers have just more talent. Justin Herbert had a really good game, though, despite losing. But, yeah, give me the Chargers. Bills at the Seahawks. Seth is taking... I gotta find it. Bills. He's taking the Bills. Yeah, I'll take the Bills as well. It's going to be a road environment, but the last time I said that about the Seahawks, they got destroyed by the 49ers, so I am going to disrespect them. Give me the Bills, Mari Cooper, and Josh Allen developing some chemistry, continuing that hot streak. So give me that. Bears at the Commanders. Seth is taking the Commanders. I am going to agree. I hope that Jaden Daniels' ability is not hindered by that injury he suffered last week. He seemed okay. I don't think it's going to be a massive problem, but yeah, I think this is a loss for Chicago. Caleb Williams put together a couple of nice games coming off of the bye week, so I think this could be a very good game. I just think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback, and I think it's going to be shown here in this game. So yeah, give me the commies. Panthers at the Broncos. Ew, yuck, gross, disgusting. I'm going to throw up right now. Seth is taking the Broncos. Yeah, again, I'm not ever taking the Panthers. On principle, I'm not. Andy Dalton is your quarterback, and he's an improvement from the other guy. So that tells me everything I need to know about this team. The Broncos, Bo Nix, just looking for another win. They got a nice win on the road against New Orleans. I just don't really believe in either of these teams long term. But I guess if I had to pick one team, I'd go with the Broncos. Chiefs at the Raiders. Seth is taking the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs are just too good. It's one of those things where I don't know what their schedule looks like, but it does not appear they are going to be losing a game anytime soon. At least they're not going to be losing a game this week. If that defense allows for the Raiders to score more points on them, it would have to be a 6-0 win. Basically, it would need to be like The Chiefs' offense is completely anemic. Like it would have to be like Christmas last year, but I don't see that happening. I think the Chiefs are going to get a little bit of revenge from that last game they played against the Raiders. Give me the Chiefs. Cowboys at the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Oh, Sunday night. Seth is taking them boys to get the win. Nay. I, on principle, will not pick the Cowboys. They're coming off of the bye, but they got destroyed to the Lions. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm doing it. Because on paper, you would think the Cowboys would be able to steamroll the 49ers here. Nay. On the road, Kyle Shanahan, the better coach, against Mike McCarthy, the scam artist who just won't go away. I think this could be a very ugly game for both teams, but I think the 49ers come away with a win. Give me Brock Purdy and the boys. Giants versus the Steelers. Seth is taking the Steelers on Monday Night Football. Again, on principle, I can't pick the Giants. Can't do it. Just an awful team, awful organization. Things are not, well, I don't want to say completely awful. Right now, awful spot. The Giants are not very good. The Steelers coming off a nice win against New York. The Jets this time. I do think that Russell Wilson is an improvement from Justin Fields because Justin Fields is terrible. I'm not going to let you people forget. He got an MVP vote just like Justin Herbert. I'm not going to let anybody forget that. Somebody voted for him for MVP. He's not even good enough to start over Russell Wilson. Anyway, Steelers are just going to out-talent the Giants. This could be a low-scoring affair. I think the defense for the Giants, or the defense of the Steelers, I should say, is going to keep them ahead, even if Russell Wilson starts to wane a little bit. So give me the Steelers. All right, rounding it out here. Vikings, Rams. We are both taking the Vikings. Ravens, Browns. We are both taking the Ravens. Titans, Lions. We are both taking the Lions. Colts, Texans. We are both taking the Texans. Packers, Jaguars. We are both taking the Packers. Cardinals, Dolphins. Seth is taking the Dolphins. I am taking the Cardinals. Jets, Patriots. We are both taking the Patriots. Falcons, Buccaneers. Seth is taking the Buccaneers. I am taking the Falcons. Eagles, Bengals. Seth is taking the Eagles. I am taking the Bengals. Saints, Chargers. We are both taking the Chargers. Bills, Seahawks. We are both taking the Bills. Bears, Commanders. We are both taking the Commanders. Panthers, Broncos. We are both taking the Broncos. Chiefs, Raiders. We are both taking the Chiefs. Cowboys, 49ers. Seth is taking the Cowboys. I am taking the 49ers. And Giants, Steelers. We are both taking the Steelers. And those are your NFL Week 8 picks. All right, and that's your show. We're at 2 hours here, folks. The longest show I've ever done. My voice is shot, probably. So Red Wings still holding on to a 1-0 lead over the Islanders. I don't know how long that'll last. I would like to get another goal, please. But yeah, hey, pretty good start, I guess. All right, that's where we're gonna wrap up the show. So some show notes for this week. Saturday night, Michigan State. We will be live for that game. Should be a heck of a fun time. Assuming Michigan State wins. Oh, if Michigan State wins, Michigan fan, you're gonna hear from me. You're gonna hear from little old me. Sunday as well. We got Lions and the Titans. That game is a 1:00 start. So I believe it's a 7:30 or a 7:00 start for the Michigan State game. Keep an eye on that. And then Sunday we got Lions Titans. So loaded weekend of football. So should be a good time. With that though, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. It really does help. It really does help the channel grow. And it's all fun. If you liked anything you heard, leave a comment. Let's have a conversation. If you didn't like something I said, leave a nice comment. I don't want to have to be snarky. Just leave a nice comment respectfully. All right? Let's be nice. Let's be adults. And yeah, that's all I got. We'll be back again this Saturday for Michigan State. And then back again on Sunday for Titans Lions. And then we'll be back next Tuesday, next week, breaking down all things sports that week. With that, have a good night, everybody. And I will see you all, hopefully, on Saturday evening. Have a good night. See you later. Goodbye. See ya.